Hi my loves, thanks for returning. As you know by the thumbnail, this video is going to be on my high-end eyeshadow palette collection. I'm going to do a few swatches on each of the palettes. I won't do the entire palette, but I am going to do a few. I'm also going to break it up if necessary. I don't really want the video to go past 15 minutes or so. If it does go past that, then I will break it up into two parts. And then after that, I will show another video on my drugstore eyeshadow palettes. So let's get to it. So I'm gonna be swatching numerous places. Of course here, if I get too lazy, I'm gonna swatch somewhere up here. So just be warned. Also, if you hear a little humming or some humming, that is my fan. It is so hot in here. So I'm going to start off with my Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette. So the first one I'm going to start off with is the Pat McGrath Labs Mothership 3 Subversive palette. This is one of my favorite palettes. As many of you know, it comes in a case like this. And here are the shadows in this palette. Most of these shadows are toppers. There's only 2 mattes in this palette, and my favorite shadows in this palette are the toppers. Let me go ahead and swatch those for you. And here are those shades right here. So the next palette is the Mothership 2 Sublime palette. I really like the outside packaging of this palette. The casing looks the same as the previous palette. It's got this lacquer black case covering, which I think is really nice. And here are the shadows. I really like the green and the pink and the gold. The black is really a good black, even that brown shade. Again, I like to use this palette as mainly a companion palette, mostly because it's only 2 matte shadows in this palette. But let me go ahead and swatch a few for you. Okay, so here I've swatched the black and the brown shade in this palette, as well as the green and the gold. I like to use a lot of the shades in here over a eye look after I've completed it, but this is a really fun palette and I've been really enjoying using it. So next is the Mothership 1 Subliminal palette. This is my least favorite palette. Don't ask me why I got it. I do like the palette, but the colors in this palette are mainly cool tones. You can see the outside casing is the same as the others. And here are the shadows right here. I do like cool tones. I just don't reach for them as much as warmer tones. And that's the only reason why I say it is my least favorite. Again, she put the black in all of her palettes, except for the next one that I'm gonna show you, which would be the Decadence palette. I do like the blue and the other 3 shadows that are in that little quad area. So let me go ahead and swatch them for you. And here they are swatched. Next, I have the Decadence palette by Pat McGrath. Again, the outside casing is the same as the other 3. And here are the shadows right here. Now, these are all metallics, and this one is probably, I do like this palette, but I wish that she would have had more of her specialty shades in this palette. They are heavily pigmented shadows. They are creamy eyeshadows, except for that deeper blue on the end. To me, it doesn't swatch as well as the others. So let me go ahead and swatch a few for you. Okay, so here they are swatched. Not sure if you can tell, but these are some seriously pigmented shadows. They are really nice, very soft and creamy. Just a really nice overall formula in this palette, and I've really been enjoying it, and it's been a treat to have. So now I'm going into her smaller 6-pan eyeshadow palettes. This is the Mothership Subversive palette, and as you can see, she's pretty much matched the packaging with the larger palette. Now the only difference between this one and the larger ones is that the inside, this is the palette, what you see. You're able to open it, of which you will be able to see that blackery lacquer cover. You'll see when I open it, and then on the inside of the palette you have the mirror. Let me go ahead and open it for you. So as you can see by the way she designed this palette with the mirror just on this flap like that, it just makes for a really difficult time when trying to hold the palette to apply your shadows. Outside of that, I really do love this palette. I love the colors, mainly because I love the color purple and violets and mauve colors like that. These colors are heavily pigmented. There's one matte and one kind of satin shade in here. Let me go ahead and swatch these for you. So here are all of the shades swatched. The two matte shades on the end do look a bit patchy. However, I've said this so many times, a lot of times swatches are not a direct indicator of how a shadow will apply. They don't apply like that. I did review this palette, of which I did a demo. I'll link it up above just in case you want to check it out. Okay, so next is the Pat McGrath Mothership Subliminal palette. And when I first ordered this palette and when I saw reviews of it online, I really didn't think I was gonna like it, but I actually love this palette. Let me go ahead and open it up for you. So these are the shadows right here. And I know initially when you look at it, you think boring, but you know, these shadows are just really pretty. They are more along the lines of something that you may use for a everyday look. There is one matte color in here, and really in my opinion, you could use this as a everyday palette and just use two colors. Of course, use the matte color for dimension. If you are a fairer skin tone, I think that you could probably buff it out a little bit and add a little bit of that metallic cream at the top, and then just pick one of the taupey shades. So let me go ahead and swatch a few of these for you. And here are the shades right here. So again, like I said before, this would be a good everyday palette. Okay, so next I have the Mothership Sublime palette. This is, as you can see, the mini palette. The packaging is the same as the larger tin pan palette. So in my opinion, again, I think this could be used as a everyday palette. The colors are warm tones, as you can see, pretty neutral, and you do have one matte shade. The rest of them are metallics. Let me go ahead and swatch them for you. And here you go right here with all of the colors swatched. I think this again would be a really good everyday palette, just some really nice shades. So the next one I want to talk about is this Natasha Denona Star palette. I really like this palette mainly because of the metallics that are in this palette. Here are the shades right here. They're really pretty. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch a few for you. So here are the shades swatched. I think they're just really pretty. The next palette I want to go over is the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. Here are the shades right here. Again, I really like the metallics in this palette. The mattes are nice as well. I think they all blend pretty well. So let me go ahead and swatch a few for you. And here are a few of the shades swatched. The next palette I want to talk about is this Natasha Denona 28 pan palette. This is the purple blue palette. Here is the inside of the palette. The favorite part to me about this palette are the metallics. The mattes are pretty nice. I think they all blend very well. It's just really been a fun palette for me. Let me go ahead and swatch them for you. And here are some of the shades swatched. As you can see, the metallics and the mattes are really pretty. The last two shades, the two purple shades are matte and the others are metallic. So overall, I think it's just a really nice palette. The next palette that I have is the Natasha Denona Tropic palette. This is my least favorite. It just has a lot of horrible metallic shades in this palette. I do love the matte shades, however. Here are the shades right here. I think that the matte shades are really, really good. The metallic shades leaves a lot to be desired. Let me go ahead and swatch a few for you. And here are the shades right here swatched. I did have to swatch these at least, the metallic shades, at least 5 or 6 times. The matte shades, not so much, probably about twice, but I do like the matte shades in this palette. So next is the Natasha Denona Lila palette. I do like this palette. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I love purples. So let me go ahead and show you the palette. These are the shades right here. The mattes are really good. The metallics are really good. This one is really one of her better formulated palettes. And I do have a video where I talk in depth about her palettes. I'll link it on a card up above somewhere if you're interested in checking that out. Let me go ahead and swatch these for you. And here are the shades right here swatched. I think these are just some really pretty colors. So next I have the Natasha Denona 5-pan Joya palette. These eyeshadows are nice. If you do decide to order any of these 2017 holiday palettes, just be careful when you open them up because they will fall, or some of the shades will fall out on you. They are pretty. It is a fun palette. You're just not, you are pretty much working with a matte, a metallic, and some toppers. And let me go ahead and show you the swatches. And here are the swatches right here. They kind of leave a lot to be desired, and because of my skin tone, a lot of two of the shades aren't showing up that well. It is a fun palette, but you're not going to get much for $48. So next is the Aeris palette, and it's the same situation with this one. If you should happen to get your hands on this palette, be careful because some of the shades do fall out. You're pretty much working with, again, one matte, that terracotta color in the middle, as well as some metallics and some toppers. This palette, I like this palette a little bit better than the other. Overall, this palette is okay, but let me go ahead and show you the swatches. And here are the swatches from the Aeris palette. So next I have the Marc Jacobs. This is one of his 7-pan palettes. This is the Provocateur palette. I really do like this palette. I do have a video on here of this palette. I'll link it up above if you're interested in checking it out. And here are the shades. As you can see, again, you get some hot pinks and purples, and that blackish brownish shade in this palette is really pretty. It has some gold glittery specks in it. Let me go ahead and show you a few swatches. And here are a few of the colors swatched. It's just really nice. I really like this palette. The next Marc Jacobs palette I have is the 2017 The Wild One palette. This is the one where he recently updated his formula. Let me go ahead and show you the shades. Here are the shades right here. I have immensely enjoyed using this palette. I have a video as well of this palette if you want to check this out, but let me go ahead and show you a couple of swatches. And here are a few of the shades swatched. You know, I think that he did a good job at putting together a variety of shades. You can get so many different looks with this palette. I really have been enjoying using this one. So here are my ink blot shadows, and for those of you who know me, you all know that these are some of my favorite shadows. Let me go ahead and show you the shades. So just in case you don't know, you can't buy a palette already assembled through Inklot. You have to buy them separately and either put them in a Z palette if you already have one, or buy one of theirs like I have. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch a few of these for you. I like all of Inklot shades. I mean, that's just me. That's some of my favorites. They don't necessarily swatch all that great, but the application is stupendous. Let me go ahead and show you a few swatches. So here are a few of the shades swatched from this palette. As you can see, these colors are just really pretty. If you are in the market for some really good shadows, you might want to try Inklot. But just be warned, if you do order from Inklot's website, they will take a long time to get to you. So that was just my experience, but they did make it up to me, however, by giving me a couple of free shadows. But anyway, nonetheless, these are so gorgeous. Okay, so here I have another palette that I put together from Inklot. Let me go ahead and show you these shades, and here they are right here. Oh my goodness, aren't these colors to die for? Let me go ahead and show you them swatched, or a few of them swatched. And here you go. Here are a few of those shades swatched. They're really pretty. Application is smooth and pigmented. Again, like I said, they apply much better than they swatch. These are just some really good eyeshadows. The next palette is the Violin Boss Like a Boss palette. I really love the packaging. It's kind of cool. So here are the shades in this palette, and I was basically drawn to the last two rows. Let me go ahead and swatch them for you. And here are a few of the shades swatched. It's a really nice palette. It's not my favorite brand. What I found with Violin Boss palettes, she kind of draws you in with her metallic shades, but you know, there's some pretty colors in this palette. And the next one that I have is the Violin Boss Rainbow palette. This is just a really fun palette. Let me go ahead and show you the shades. And here are the shades right here. All of these shades are metallic. There aren't any mattes in this palette. It's just a lot of really pretty colors. Let me go ahead and swatch a few for you. And here are some of the shades swatched. It's just got some really pretty colors. The blue is probably the weakest in this palette, and the black has like some silvery colors in it. Yeah, if you're looking for a palette with some really fun shades, you might want to check this one out. The next one that I have is the Voss Pro hashtag palette, and let me go ahead and show you the colors. And here are the shades. Oh my goodness, they are so pretty. Let me go ahead and swatch a few for you. And here you see these colors are so pretty. But again, I'm that same person that is biased to those purpley, hot pink, mauve type of shadows. Just really pretty. It's just an overall pretty palette with some really cute colors. So the next palette that I want to share with you is this custom palette that I put together by Buxom. Let me go ahead and show you the shades. Here are the colors right here. Buxom has some really nice shades. I find that the metallics are very pigmented. It's just one shade in here that is matte, and that would be the terracotta shade. Let me go ahead and show you the swatches. Here they are right here. I really haven't used this palette too much. This was one of the first palettes that I put together when I first started just really getting into makeup. I think they're really nice. If you haven't tried Buxom shadows, you might want to check a few out. Okay, so my battery has died twice. I've had to use 2 battery packs to make this video. This is part 1 of my high-end. I will have a part 2 coming up within a day or so for you all. I hope that this video was helpful for some. I personally like watching eyeshadow palette collection videos, and I like them because, you know, a lot of times people have stuff that I don't have, and when I see stuff that I don't have that I like, I'm like, I think I need to go out and get that. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to check out my collection, and until my next video, smooches.